Have you ever been scrolling through Pinterest and stopped right at one of those aesthetic, moody designs that just feels like a rainy day in a library or a study session with some sunlight and vintage poetry? Well, chances are you are looking at something inspired by dark academia or light academia. In this video, I'm going to talk about the key differences between those two aesthetics, and we're going to break down a graphic piece for each one of those styles created in Kittl. So grab your cup of coffee or tea, and let's just dive into these amazing, timeless academic aesthetics. So let's talk about the academia aesthetic, because dark and light academia are not that different. They actually sit in the same spectrum with a lot of overlap in colors, vibes, and inspiration. The difference really comes down to the mood. As I show you the mood boards I made for each one, you'll see what I mean. Dark academia leans into the moody, introspective side of learning. It's inspired by classic literature, ancient ruins, old libraries, deep colors like charcoal, brown, forest green, and burgundy. Nothing vibrant, pretty much very muted. For imagery or inspiration, I'd say something like overcast skies, candlelight, handwritten poetry in leather journal. Like, you get the vibes, right? The feeling is very romantic, maybe even a little bit tragic. It's about mystery, it's about depth, and it's a timeless style, and you see that reflected in things like Gothic architecture, worn books, vintage coats with vintage clothing, just the slow, rainy day energy that I love. Now imagine everything I just said, but a little bit more soft and uplifting. Light academia is still rooted in the love of learning and classic style, but it has a more optimistic and airy feel. So you'll see warmer tones like cream, beige, pale yellow, pale orange, dusty rose, lots of natural light, linen textures, pressed flowers, handwritten notes. Both styles share that intellectual, poetic core. It's just one feels like autumn and the other one feels like spring. That's an actually really nice way to describe both aesthetics. So before we jump in, quick side note, we actually made 2 Spotify playlists for each one of these aesthetics, one for light academia and one for dark academia. So if you want to get in the zone while you're designing, if you want to like absorb the vibe, feel free to go ahead and get in the mood. I'm going to leave the link to these playlists in the description. Now let's break down the posters I created today, starting with dark academia. So we have a really dark, torn, poetic, and tragic design here. It's really moody, it's really goth. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I am team dark academia all day. I love the moody vibe, so I'm living for this. But moving on, I started with this really deep green background color, and I went straight to typography. As you see, the main font here, it's Gutenberg texture. It's a goth black letter font. Just look for goth on the fonts menu and you're gonna find like a ton of goth fonts and similar fonts. But I chose this one because it got that organic feeling, you know, it's super irregular, almost like handwritten or, you know, hand printed. And it has that irregular shape that I love. So this is the main text. We are all stories in the end, as you guys can see. And for the secondary text that it's on the bottom, written in ink, faded by time. As you guys notice, the text is smaller, it's way smaller. So of course, I cannot use a complex display font like Gutenberg for this one. Obviously, otherwise that would be illegible. You wouldn't know what's written here. So I chose Impossibilion BRK, which also got that ink bleed effect, and I think it totally matched Gutenberg. Yeah, I think these 2 fonts were really well paired together. And if you want to find more fonts like this, like Impossibilion BRK, you'll go ahead on the fonts menu and you'll look for ink bleed. And you're gonna find a couple more few fonts that have the same vibe, the ink bleed vibe. All right, moving on to these ornamental borders that you see in the design. you'll go over to the Elements panel and you're gonna look for Baroque. So you find a bunch of similar elements, and you also find crosses, which I thought it was a really cool element to add to our design. But as you see, these crosses that I chose, like these crosses that are on the Elements panel, they are images. So what I did was I vectorized it to make it look cooler. Like I just wanted to make it look like it was printed, you know. I don't know, it got that threshold effect that it adds a lot of texture. And to a design like this, like we need texture. We definitely need texture. That was simple, that was super fast, and it's basically done. But in my opinion, here's where the magic happens. I added a dark grunt texture to the design. And then what I did, I went ahead and I reduced the opacity to 30%. And I set the blending mode to lighten, but honestly, you can just play around with the blending modes. I always say this, like experiment, have fun with the blending modes. Design is about experimentation. A lot of the times, you know, design will be like experimenting and playing around with what you like and what you don't like. So go ahead and play around with the blending modes and figure out what you like, what works and what doesn't work. So, I mean, look at this. Look at this before and after. I want to show a before texture, after texture. It's mood changing, right? It just adds the whole moody mood to the design. Love it. Okay, I also used this generated gloomy castle image to create an even darker version, and I like it a lot, so I don't know. I thought it was cool, so I want to add this here. Be creative.
Come on guys, let's get creative!
And try out different things. Now let's move on to the light academia design. For this one, I was thinking of something lighter, you know, and softer with a little bit of a more hopeful tone, because as I said, the difference is like 80% in the mood and the tone. So cool, let's break it down. Starting with the color palette, drastic change of tones, right guys? However, if you notice, we're still in the muted and discreet color vibes. No like vibrant and bold color. Here's like very in the low. Again, there's a hierarchy of text here, clearly. So the sun also rises is definitely the most important one. It's almost like a headline. And you can notice the pages turn and life begins again. It's way smaller inside these like tape elements because I wanted to feel almost like a scrapbook. And for the typography choice, we're keeping similar to the dark academia one. We're using a goth font again. This one is CAT Wathari, or is it Cat of Wathari? I don't know. It could be both. And listen, I cannot stress this enough. I love this font. I love this font. I think it's my favorite goth black letter font, like all time, that we have in Kittl. And personally, I just think this one is more uplifting and it's softer. Yes, it's medieval. Yes, it's Baroque. Yes, it's goth, but it doesn't scare me like Gutenberg. I'm not intimidated by this font. It's even a little playful. I mean, it's speaking to me on a softer tone. That's why I chose this one for the light academia one. Now that we have our typography figured out, we're going to the elements and ornaments. We have these vintage watercolor botanical illustrations that are very whimsical and witchy, and I live for it. No, seriously, I love these elements. You can look for flower on the elements panel and scroll down a little bit and you'll find these. And you can even use the Copilot to find similar elements. So we have thyme, we have dried flowers. It's very fancy. I love it. As for the motifs, we have this category that if you click ornaments and you scroll down a little bit, you'll find vintage fairy tale, which I'm completely obsessed with right now because all of these elements here are beautiful, literally a fairy tale book elements. But yeah, just take these elements and create your own pattern around it. I really like how, you know, the composition I created for this design is like a bigger one on the bottom and then the top felt too empty. So I had to add something there and it's really cute. Last thing, I just added a little sunny sun element on the top because of the title, the sun also rises. And again, a nice texture. This time I used one of the paper textures and instead of the grunge texture because I felt like that was too heavy for this design. So whether you gravitate towards the shadows of dark academia or the soft glow of light academia, both styles are packed with visual cues that can help you tell a powerful visual story through design. It's really all about mood, about how typography, color, layout, and textures really come together to create something that will feel a certain way. We also have a few AI images to translate these aesthetics visually. I know how hard and tricky it can be to find stock images that are, dark academia or light academia aesthetics. So I'm gonna leave all of the generated images as well as the prompt used and a Kittl project linked in the description. If you want to start designing something like this yourself, I've linked the Kittl projects to the description below. So go ahead and play around with the elements, with the colors, with the fonts, with the textures, everything. Practice design a little bit. And if you don't have a Kittl account yet, you can sign up for free using the link in the description below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next one, and drop a comment. I want to know which one is more your vibe. Dark academia or light academia? What do you think? All right, see you in the next video. Bye.